Hey guys, so in this video we're going to be discussing a specific AI tool that you can use to start increasing the number of consultations and appointments booked for your practice this month. So before we get into that, we sat down with a number of clients and potential clients, and we noticed that a lot of them had a similar problem. They'd want the service, they'd see the value behind AI and what it can do for the company, their social media and such, right? However, the social media accounts were not yet optimized, and as a result, the service in itself would still work, but not to the best of its ability. So before we get into the specific AI tool, there's just three points I'd like to cover with you very quickly, points that you should make sure you've covered for your own personal social media account. Point number one, if you're on social media right now, it is important that you know your audience. We call this your ICP. Make sure that you know your audience. Why is that? Because if you're posting random posts about healthcare or random posts about whatever surgery it is that you do, whatever service that you provide, but you're not addressing the specific needs, the specific issues of a specific body of people, your social media posts are likely not to convert. If you try and sell to everybody, you're going to end up selling to nobody. So you need to first understand who is your ideal customer. What do they look like? What do they do? What are the specific problems? What are their needs? How do they communicate? How can you communicate with them? What do they respond to? Once you know that, right, you'll understand what type of post you should make. You'll understand what time you should be posting. You'll understanding how frequent you should be posting, what social media platforms you should be using, and such. So number one, first know your audience. Point number two ties in directly to point number one, right? So point number one was know your audience. Point number two is you need to, from there onwards, post consistently, but most importantly, post deliberately. They cannot be random posts. You cannot just post a random carousel. You cannot just go to Canva and throw things together and release something like a random quote about something, right? It doesn't work that way. Once you understand your customer profile, you then need to create deliberate posts that they will respond to, and from there you post those posts consistently. Lastly, you need to understand how to build a lead funnel. What is that, you might ask? So what you need to do for your social media, is that you have to know your specific audience. Yes, you're going to post deliberately and consistently, yes, but now you understand how do you lead them from just being followers on social media, followers on Instagram, followers on Facebook, followers on TikTok, to being paid clients. What processes and what checkpoints do you need to set in place for them to actually convert into consultations? For example, you first start with let's say you start with a story post. So you post something on your story to get them to respond in your DMs. From your DM, you give them a link to, you qualify them somehow. They maybe give them a phone number or something they can respond to, something along those lines. And then from that communication, the DMs, you move them over to like a lead form. From your lead form, you get them booked in for a consultation. That's usually the framework that most practices and most service-based companies use on social media, right? So like I said initially, you should first make sure that you understand your audience. From there, you should post deliberately and consistently. And lastly, you should know how to build good funnels. Once you have those three things in check, the AI tool I'm about to mention to you will work brilliantly for your practice. Okay, now on to the next section. So about to discuss an AI tool, an AI system that we integrate for other companies and integrate for other practices just like yours, that we know provide great results and great returns and great conversions for them through social media. That system would be AI chatbots. Let me explain to you how they work, right? So imagine a 24-hour system that's constantly qualifying your leads. What does that mean? It means that when somebody sends you a DM, somebody clicks on your website, somebody goes to your WhatsApp, whatever else, there's a system that will always respond to them immediately. Assuming somebody has an FAQ, a frequently asked question, the AI system will work in the background constantly to make sure those questions get answered immediately. If people have questions about consultations and bookings, what time do you open, what time do you close, what days can I come through, when do you have any openings, do you offer the service or not, how do I make those payments, such and such, right? There's this AI system to integrate into your platform, into your social media, that will work 24 hours in the background. Why is this important, right? And I'll get further into some of the benefits later on in the video, but I want to address why this system is so important. Research has shown that practices and or other businesses that respond to their clients within the first minute increase their conversion rate by over 300%, which is a huge margin. And that's a reality that wasn't always able to be achieved, at least not previously, because there wasn't artificial intelligence, this technology didn't exist, before we'd have to rely on somebody constantly being at the phones, someone constantly being at the computer, somebody constantly being on the other end of the line, making sure that your potential clients get responded to and booked immediately. But as you know, people have lunch breaks, people have sick days, there are weekends, you have office hours and such and such. There's so many different reasons to why your potential clients and lost customers did not get responded to immediately. Now, because of the technology that's been created, we can make sure that your clients and your clientele get responded to immediately. Not only for FAQs, remember earlier I told you about creating a funnel. The reason that's so important is because, similar to the lead flow I showed you earlier, you'd make a post on social media, on your story, get people to respond. As soon as they respond and send you a DM, the AI system immediately takes over. It will answer anyone's questions. It will take them through an entire lead qualifying process. I'm assuming your firm already has a qualifying process that they use. If not, we can build one for you too. But it takes them through that entire qualifying process and qualifies them, figures out what type of procedure do they want, how quickly do they want to get it done, what is that budget, and a various number of other questions that you might already have that we can also just work on and personalize for your practice. It takes them through that entire process and eventually gets them booked in. So from there, it leads them to your calendar, gets them booked immediately without necessarily having to go through a person. That means that even after your working hours, you can still book in clients, because imagine there are people who only really have the time to book a consultation with you after hours, after they're done with work. It means that people want to book a consultation with you at like 3 o'clock on a Sunday, they still can onto your calendar. And you're going to automate this entire process and just make sure that you don't lose any leads. Think of AI and these AI tools as not necessarily, think of it this way, right? So oftentimes you've got a bucket and let's say you fill it with water, right? However, your bucket has holes in it. So you're pouring a lot of money into marketing and advertising and social media and all those different things. But now you've got a bucket that's leaking. So you've poured all this money in, all this water in, but you've got a leakage at the bottom. AI is the plug that you use at the bottom of the bucket to seal up those holes. So hence why I had to run you through the entire process of social media. If your social media isn't yet optimized, if social media isn't up to par, the AI tool ceases to make that much sense for your company. However, if you are a company that's been growing online and you have been working on social media and you have been scaling or you've amassed a certain amount of growth and your audience is a certain size, these tools are the exact tools you need to take you to that next level, to take you to that next step. We were talking with a client the other day who has thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, someone who huge following online, and her conversion rate, if I'm not mistaken, was sitting at less than 0.02%. As you'd know, that is so far below the standard. I believe the standard currently is sitting on 0.5 to 3% on average. That's what people get in terms of converting their social media audience to paying clients. She was sitting at less than half of what the minimum standard should be. And that's not because she didn't have good posts, that's not because she didn't have a good social media strategy and all of that. It's simply because those people were just being leaked through the system. So that's someone who had done things correctly and everything seemed okay, but she left a lot of money on the table simply because there was no way of making sure that those leakages were closed. Well, we're currently at a point right now where those leakages can be closed, hence why we're working on these solutions currently. So, like I told you earlier, here are some of the benefits of integrating this type of system. You're going to decrease the number of leads that are potentially lost, which is a huge thing, right? Remember, every lead that's lost is money that's potentially lost too. I remember in a meeting that we had recently, oftentimes when people think about lost leads, they think about it as, oh, money that we could have got. Where instead, when I think about it and I talk to them, it's more about the money that you potentially lost. It sounds similar, but those are two different things. Saying I didn't make 10,000, 15,000, 7,000 is not the same thing as I lost 7,000. For every lead you didn't close, it's money that you lost. So what does AI do? It helps you minimize the number of lost potential clients and lost revenue. It also works 24 hours, 7 days a week. That includes public holidays, the festive season, any sick days, during weddings, during times of mourning. It's always continuously working in the background to make sure that your clients are always taken care of. The beautiful thing right now about where AI is in some of these systems is that you can use them for your customer care experience too. This is what some of the largest practices in the world have already started integrating and already started using and implementing for themselves. And they've seen huge results. Another nice thing about this is that you can now standardize your customer care experience. So your customers, your potential clients will get consistent feedback, they'll get consistent follow-ups, they'll get consistent communication with your team or with your AI digital assistant. But you can also standardize it. So it means regardless of the time of the day, regardless of whether someone has been ill that day or not, or whatever else, you can make sure that your customers get a standardized. You make sure that your clients can get a standardized response. Sorry. Now the truth is that AI is here. AI is officially on the scene. Whether you choose to implement it today or not is completely up to you. But the question isn't really if you choose to, but rather when do you want to make that decision. Learn about the different tools, do your research, sit down with experts, go through consultations, have audits, right? Sit down with companies and figure out how exactly can you best optimize your company. The truth is that the best companies in the world have already started implementing this technology. The gap is continuously growing larger and larger and larger, and artificial intelligence as a technology has been created to help minimize that gap, to help boost your growth, boost your sales, automate your system, scale at a rate which you could not do prior. Now, if you'd like to know more about this and you may be interested about artificial intelligence or the systems I've just described thus far, feel free to click the first link in our bio. That's a link to a direct call with me and the team. It's a completely free call. It's a 30-minute consultation where you're free to ask us questions, learn more about us, we'll learn more about you. Maybe you've got questions about what we do exactly. You've got questions about how we can help you and how exactly we can see your company move from point A to point B using artificial intelligence to make sure that you're not left behind. So if that's you, click the link in the bio, and I cannot wait to see you.